What's up everyone, Chance here with Real Sim Gear. In this video, we're going to be covering what's in the box when you order the GFC500 and the GFC700, and then we're going to head over to the computer and I'm going to show you how to set both of them up. Now, before we get into the unboxing, I want to talk about some of the optional accessories that you might want to consider picking up when ordering any of our Real Sim Gear avionics. So the first are these desktop stands. And so on the bottom here, you're going to see some spaces for the Autopilots, either a 700 or a 500 right here. And then up here, you're going to see some slots for some other Real Sim Gear avionics, like an audio panel at the top. This one's for a 750, this is for a 650 or a 430. And so there's a bunch of different options on our website and you can check those out there. Another option would be to check out our Real Sim Gear yoke top package, where you're gonna have your Real Sim Gear avionics stack on the right side, and then the left side, you're gonna have an option for some glass instrumentation like the G5 or the G500, and that's all gonna be mounted on top of a yoke. And then the second question you wanna ask yourself is, how are you going to connect it? And so these Autopilots don't really have an HDMI port on them, but I just wanna mention these real quick. And so this is a dual HDMI to USB adapter. And so if you have multiple monitors, if you have multiple Real Sim Gear pieces of avionics that have a screen, then you can plug those into this adapter, and then that way it only takes up one USB port. And then if you're running out of USB ports on your computer, you can pick up either our 7-port hub or our 10-port hub. And so there's a key difference between the 7-port hub and the 10-port hub, and that's the cable that goes into your computer and the cable that goes to the wall are on the front of the 7-port hub, and those cables actually come out of the back on the 10-port hub. Because of that, I prefer the 10-port hub because that way I can have it facing me on my desk, and then the cables that need to run to my computer and the wall are coming out of the back, so I can mitigate the amount of cables on top of my desk. So that clears it up for the optional accessories. Now let's go ahead and unbox the 500 and then we'll unbox the 700. All right, so when you first open the box, you're gonna get this GFC500 quick start checklist, basically telling you what's in the box. And then I'm just gonna show you how to set it up in this video, so you don't really need this. So super simple, here's the GFC500. Got some really quiet knobs here. Buttons sound great, feel great. For your vertical speed, up and down here, level button, autopilot, flight director, oh yeah. Okay, and then on the back of this thing, you have just the single USB Type B to A cable. And so this is the Type B connection. I'll show you the cable in a second. And then that leads to a Type A connection that goes into your computer. Pretty slim, pretty low profile. Okay, and then here is the cable. Here's the Type B connection that goes into the GFC500, and then here's the Type A connection that goes into your PC. And then all of our avionics come with some mounting screws in case you did pick up one of our stands. Okay, that's it for the GFC500. Now I'll show you what's in the box with the GFC700, and then we'll head over to the computer to set it up. Again, like the 500, you're gonna get this quick start checklist that you don't really need because I'm gonna show you how to do everything in this video. Take this guy, and then here is the GFC700. And then on the back of this thing, you're gonna have, again, just a single USB 2.0 Type B to Type A connection. And then again, you have the same cable. You got the USB Type B to Type A connection, and then mounting screws. So when you order either the GFC500 or the GFC700, make sure you get the component itself, a USB Type B to A 2.0 connection, and then the mounting screws. All right, now that we have it unboxed, let's go ahead and take it over to the computer and we'll set it up. Okay, now that we've unboxed the GFC500 and the GFC700, it's time to set it up on our PC with X-Plane and run a test. The setup for the GFC500 and the 700 is actually the exact same as the GMA350 audio panel. And so let's say you have both of those right now, you can just watch this one video and save yourself a little bit of time. The setup for the GMA350 audio panel, the GFC500 and the GFC700 are super easy, and we can break them down into 3 easy steps. Step 1 is to make the physical connections. They all just have one USB Type B to A cable. Step 2 is to install the Real Sim Gear plugin, and step 3 is to load up X-Plane and test it. And I've made chapters for this video, so you can hover your mouse over the progress bar and jump to a certain step if you need to. That being said, some of these steps are crucial to be done in a particular order, so don't jump around on me if you don't need to. I just put them there so you can rewind a little bit easier. Now, before we go about making the physical connections, I'm going to mount everything to this desktop stand right here. So I'm going to mount the GFC500 here on the bottom, but I'm also going to mount the GTN750 and the GTN650 since I'm going to use this stand for those setup videos. When you purchase the stand, it'll come with these little rubber feet that you're going to want to put on the bottom so it doesn't scratch up your desk and move around really easily. Which, by the way, you're going to need some scissors for, as well as mounting it, you'll need a small Phillips head screwdriver. So I'm just going to fast forward through me mounting everything on here. So now that we have everything installed on the stand, make sure that you have all of the cables that came in the box, like you saw a second ago when we were unboxing. And one thing you're going to need for the 650 and the 750 is an HDMI cable. So make sure you purchase one of these cables for everything with the screen when you purchase the avionics under this essential accessories option right here. All right, so I'm going to start making the physical connections here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in all of the USB type B to A cables into my 10-port hub here, which is Velcro down with some command strips to the front of my desk so I can plug things really easily into it. So I'm gonna grab those cables and I'm gonna plug all 3 of those in. So if you're just setting up your Autopilot right now, the GFC500 or the 700, it's just gonna have this one connection. And so that's all you need to do for the physical connections part. Okay, now that you have all the connections plugged into your GFC500 or your GFC700, it's time to install the RealSimGear plugin. So all you gotta do is go to realsimgear.com and then click on this support tab right here. This is gonna take you to a page that looks like this. Just click on downloads, and then you're gonna scroll down and click on downloads for X-Plane. That'll bring you to this page, and then you're gonna look at the RealSimGear X-Plane plugin, and so you're gonna click on this one right here for Windows. That's gonna start an install in the top right. And so once it's done installing, you can click on this show in folder button. It might look a little different for you, just depending on which Windows version you have. And then that's gonna pull up this guy, and you're going to run this exe file. So just go ahead and double click on it. It's gonna ask you, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? It doesn't show on the screen recording, but it will ask you when you click there. And so you're just gonna click yes, and then you're going to run through the installer. So just go ahead and click on next, click on agree, and then this is where you're gonna install the plugins for any of the RealSimGear hardware. Okay, and since we have the Autopilots, the GFC500 or the GFC700, I'm gonna click on this all other RSG hardware button right here, and this would be the same for the audio panel. So you just need to do this once for all 3 of those. Okay, with that selected, I'm gonna click on next. If you had anything else, the 430, the 530, or you're planning on getting it soon or whatever, you can just go ahead and install those plugins now. There are other setup videos for each of those, and so make sure you watch those as there's some specific stuff you wanna do, especially with the 650, 750. So I'm gonna click on next, and then it's gonna ask me where I wanna download it, and I'm just gonna say I want it to be downloaded into my base X-Plane 12 folder, and so I'm gonna click on install. And then we're done. That's it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click finish. And now it's time to move on to step 3, which is to load up X-Plane and test everything out. So I'm gonna minimize this. I'm gonna click on my X-Plane 12 shortcut, and that's gonna open up X-Plane 12. And since we are testing the GFC500 right now, I'm gonna go ahead and select this SR22, and I'm gonna click Start Flight. The thing with the RealSimGear hardware, this Autopilot, the 500 or the 700, is that it's not gonna make the airplane do something that it's not already capable of doing. And so let's say you picked the basic Skyhawk, the basic Cessna in there, and you were trying to use this GFC500 Autopilot with it. Well, if that airplane inside of X-Plane doesn't already have an Autopilot, then attaching the hardware isn't gonna make that airplane have an Autopilot. And so you would have to download, you have to find an airplane that has a Autopilot already installed into that thing. So if I look down from this SR22, right here, I have this GFC500 Autopilot. So I'm gonna be able to control anything on this GFC500 with this one. And so in order to test it thoroughly to make sure everything's working properly, I'm gonna hover the mouse over the top right here, and I'm gonna go to plugins. I'm gonna click on RealSimGear device interface, and then I'm gonna select connected hardware. Now that's gonna pull up this thing, and it's gonna show all of the hardware that I have connected. And so I'm looking for the message and the command here. And so I'm gonna twist something like the heading and track knob here. And I'm twisting it to the right. And so it says heading up under message, which is what I want. And then it's having the command, which is going to the airplane, right? And then if I look Oops. If I look inside of the airplane, you can see that I'm moving the heading bug right there. And so it's doing what it should be doing. And it's working for this airplane because this airplane has this autopilot installed. Now, if I were to select my altitude, you see how the altitude select is working from there. And let's go ahead and place myself in the air so we can see this a little bit more in action. So I'll hit the I button. That brings up my instructor station window. I'm gonna zoom in, click on myself, and let's say I just wanna be over the ocean at 6,500 feet. So this kind of helps if I pause first. So if I just hit P to pause. So I'll click on altitude, I'll select 6,500. That brings me up to 6,500. I can click on myself and move the little airplane around. Let's go next to Bataquitos Lagoon, or what I like to call Bag of Cheetos Lagoon. And then I'll change my heading, you know, down the coast, maybe hitting 150, typical direction people fly. On the Victor Airway, sure, why not? And then I'm going to pitch is okay, maybe lollipops is what I like to call it. Oh, it's not changing. 1 degree, that's a bug. And then this typical speed here, I don't know, 130 knots. And then I'll exit out of this thing and then I'll unpause. Okay, and so in order to activate the autopilot, it's always gonna get screwy as soon as you come out from the pause there. So I'm gonna hit the autopilot button right here, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and hit the heading button, and now it's going to fly to the heading that I have selected, and I can twist my little heading knob over. So let's say I wanted to fly. Let's keep it coming over to a heading of 150. I'll zoom in here so you can see a little bit better. And then it's not holding an altitude because I haven't selected an altitude. And so I'll move the altitude bug up. So I'm twisting the altitude side. And let's just stop this rapid descent right at 4,000 feet. And it's an altitude select mode, which is green right there. That's what's active. And now it's ALT mode is white. And as soon as I reach this, apparently 3,900, it's going to now go into altitude mode instead of altitude select mode, ALTS mode, altitude select. Now it's in altitude mode at 3,900, which it really should be at 4,000 feet. And so let's go ahead and I'll just initiate a vertical speed climb. So I'll hit the VS mode, I'll climb up to 4,000 feet, oops, climb up to 4,000 feet, there we go. It's beeping at me because I'm getting further away from. Oh, it's also beeping at me because I don't have my throttle in. So let's go ahead and, yeah, there we go. That's funny, the parking brake is on in this situation. I've just throttled up now, so it's not an auto throttle, right? It's an autopilot. And now it's going to climb, since I'm in altitude select mode, ALTS mode, it's gonna climb at 500 feet per minute until it reaches this 4,000 feet right here. And it's gonna automatically capture. So you see LTS is selected, ALT mode is white, and so it's not active. And now it's just activated into ALT mode at 4,000 feet. And all the while it's holding the heading 150 because I'm in heading mode. Now, if I wanted to fly in approach or use my flight plan, have it navigate via my flight plan, then I would hit this nav button right here, the NAV button. If I was shooting an approach, I'd be in approach mode, right? And so this thing is gonna do everything that this airplane is capable of since it has a GFC500 already installed. If you're using maybe a GFC700, you could still utilize this airplane because there's a lot of crossover stuff. But if you want an exact representation, you wanna use the avionics that's in the airplane that you plan on flying. So most of you will probably know what you want to train in the future. Let's say you're not flying right now, or most of you will know what kind of airplane that you want to be simming on for the longest period of time, or what you're flying right now. So just, I would try to match up what you are going to be utilizing in the cockpit or in your future real world flight training. Okay, that is it for setting up your GFC500 or your GFC700. If you guys have any questions, running into any issues whatsoever, feel free to email us at support@realsimgear.com or info@realsimgear.com, and we'll get you help with our world-class customer service. And if you want to learn more about how to use your flight simulator to prepare for real-world flight training, then you should check out our course called Flight Sim Pro. Inside the course, we teach you how to use your flight simulator to prepare for your private pilot certificate, and depending on when you're watching this, your instrument rating. We show you how to use your checklist to start, taxi, takeoff, level off, descend, land, shutdown, right? Everything that I would teach one of my student pilots, as I'm a CFII with over 3,000 flight hours. And I've also jam-packed this course with all the pro tips that I've learned over the last 7 years of flying, which I know will save you all of the headache that I had to go through when I was in flight training. So if you want to sneak a peek inside the course, you can click the link below to watch our video on how to start a Cessna 172, or you can head over to flightsimpro.com if you want to learn more. Anyway, that's it for this video. Let us know if you need anything else, and we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.